I'd like to call this April 1st, 2026 Board of Education work session to order. George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Here.
Ms. Hafner?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Wall?
Here.
And Mrs. Hausum?
Here. We could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda are strategic priorities. Our district has developed and is currently engaged in a 3-year strategic plan which reflects the values, beliefs, and hopes of our students, staff, parents, and community. There are 4 strategic priorities to the plan: transforming teaching and learning, aligning staff and resources, cultivating culture and climate, and leveraging funding and facilities. Our strategic priorities give actionable focus to our district's purpose and mission and guide the work of our strategic plan. Next, public comment. We do not have any public comment this evening. We are going to jump down to Dr. Rivas, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. So what we wanted to bring up and talk about today is half-day kindergarten. So kindergarten enrollment is going on. If you remember, in the summertime, we came and spoke to the board about our half-day kindergarten numbers. Our class caps for kindergarten through grade 3 is 25 students is our guidance. And so over the years, we've seen full-day kindergarten numbers grow, half-day kindergarten numbers reduce. And this summer, we came to the board saying, our numbers at Sarrar and Whitney are low. I think they were maybe 9 and 10 respectively. And we could combine those and have them go to one school. We've done that in the past. In the past, we had Kinsner go to Chapman, I believe. We did that for a year. And so we brought that to the board, and at the time, the board said, no, it's too late in the game. We didn't properly notify our parents that this was a possibility with half-day kindergarten. Let's keep the smaller class sizes in half-day kindergarten. So we did. So I'm just bringing it to the board again because we're in the same situation with the same 2 buildings again. We have properly notified, it's on our documents and for kindergarten registration that based on enrollment figures, half-day kindergarten sections may be combined. And so what we have here, it's linked in the agenda for you to see. But if we take a look at that document, and George has it up on the board, currently, as of today, if we take a look at the 5 sections of half-day kindergarten, you could see the 5 buildings. You could see the enrollment in each of those buildings, as well as the total. We have 72 half-day kindergarten students. And then you could see the spots available. So we have room for 53 additional half-day kindergarten students to enroll between now and the first day of school and have plenty of room for them. And you could see where those spots are available at each building. Looking at, Chapman, Kinsner, and Moraski, they're already at a respectable level. We're not looking, you couldn't combine those with any other building because you'd go over the 25 limit, plus leaving some buffer for enrollments over the summer. We think those are at a good spot, and we're not concerned with those. At Sarrar and Whitney, again, are the same buildings where we have lower half-day kindergarten enrollment. So you take a look at Sarrar and Whitney, you could combine them. If you do combine them into one section, all students would have to go to Sarrar Elementary School because we need to ensure that we have half-day kindergarten at all of our buildings that provide modern intensive special education services. So that's why Whitney would be the one. And what it would look like in practice is no half-day kindergartners would go to Whitney. Those 10 students would go to Sarrar. That would make that class of 20. And we would provide transportation services to those students to go there. And that's where, if you see in the second chart, that gives you the data, where it was Sarrar would be 20 instead of 10. We still have 72 students. The spots available gets cut down by 25 because we have 25 less spots. We've eliminated a section. So the question becomes, A, do we like the idea of are we supportive of the idea of combining them? What it does is we talk about reduction planning over the last meeting. This would still preserve same supports and services, although students would be no longer be in their home building for kindergarten. it does reduce expenses by a half a kindergarten teacher. So you would save those dollars there. As I said before, we have done it before. The biggest challenge that the board at that time remembers, we had some kids or parents come and speak to the board. One of the major concerns that's brought up by parents is, especially if you have other siblings, you have two schools that you're managing. You have a kindergarten student in one school, and in this case, maybe other kids at Whitney. Friendships were brought up, but maybe a less of an issue because it's half-day kindergarten and they're still in the neighborhoods. And those were some of the concerns or questions that were brought up. If you scroll to the second page, what we did was break down enrollment trends over the last 2 years. So you could see, we put here for you in August of if I go to the bottom chart, in April of 2024, which would have been getting ready for the 24-25 school year, we took a look at, here was our enrollment then, and here was our enrollment in August when we started school, and you could see the difference there in the students that we gained 14 students. The other part that we took a look at is this year, where, and there's some math issue there.
Yeah,
if you could
there's
fix it,
13.
because it's, yeah, thanks. If you take a look at the top one, again, you could see where we were in April, where we landed in August, and you could see the difference there. So if you take a look at Sarrar and Whitney over the last 2 years, we've averaged about 5 new students that have enrolled past this point, which means we have the room for it. We could get more, we could get less, you never know, but based on the data we have, it's not like saying, hey, on average, we get 10 more students at those buildings total, so it's no way we can do it. So that's where we're looking for guidance. The current board guidance is no, keep them separate. And if they're low numbers, they're low numbers. And just wanted to bring it back to your attention if that's still the stance, or if you want to take a look at combining them. Jenny oversees and works closely with Mary on kindergarten registration. So Jenny, any additions you want to add?
The only thing I would say, two things. The first thing with half-day kindergarten, it is desirable, I should say, to have them a little less than 25, just because they only have them for that half-day time period. So they have less time with the kids, so less kids, kind of sometimes equates to maybe a little bit more that they can do, just because they're only there for a shorter period of time. The other thing that we have in here, and we're still working through it, is, oftentimes we have special education students that are within the different classroom, but then we want them to be in gen ed as much as possible. So sometimes the numbers can fluctuate a little bit if we have a student that spends more time in a smaller classroom versus the kindergarten classroom. But right now, we're so preliminary with that I didn't put that in the numbers. But I know that, for example, because we only have the 3 MI units at 3 of our elementary schools, we do have some students at Whitney that are going to have to go to Sarrar anyway, looking at 1, possibly 2 out of that 10. So that's a piece of it as well.
So I'll turn over to you for discussion.
Questions or comments? Do we know how many of this, out of the 10 Sarrar, would be modern intense students?
I don't think
There was 0 right
there
now.
was 0 at
Zero?
this point,
Okay.
yeah.
And what would the dollar figure be on a half-a-day teacher?
Depends who the teacher is specifically, but we usually use the lowest.
Yeah, so if it's about 50,000 for the teacher, maybe about 25, and then the benefit component. If it's just a half teacher, then they're probably not going to have health care, so there'll be a savings there, which is about 26,000.
And I currently know which teachers would be in those positions, so
Okay, we could figure
I
that out
I
then.
currently know the teacher that could potentially take it. I have 2 teachers right now that want to do a job share, so one would do AM and one would do PM. So if the board decides to combine, then we do have places for them as well.
So you'd say, if we're saying maybe $35,000 in that range would be the savings?
Yeah, depending on who those teachers are and if they currently have healthcare and if they're dropping the healthcare.
Yeah.
So depending on if they're going from a full-time to a half-time, it'd be half their salary and associated benefits.
And so the one reason we bring this up now is because of what Jenny said is staffing. So if we're going to stick with both sections of half-day kindergarten, there's dominoes that fall into place to say, hey, we have these two teachers that want a half-day job share, we fill other positions. If we say we want to combine them, then one of those people based on seniority, we would have to let them know that you no longer have that half-day option. Here's a position that you could have to preserve your full-time position. And then the dominoes fall from there. So that's why timing is now instead of, hey, let's wait and see in May or June where we're at.
I have two questions. Is there a delta associated with transporting kids?
Yeah, so Monica, if you want to come up and you can kind of share how half-day kindergarten transportation works, and would this have an impact on adding routes or adding busing services? I know you're just hearing about it, but
It won't impact it too much. We may have to take away a midday and, just shift the kids however we have to make it work. But we always make it work.
and so one of the things we do for half-day kindergarten is we have half-day kindergarten parents opt into transportation because not everybody uses it. So we would get a good idea. The half-day, midday routes are not full.
No, they're
so-
not full at all, and with the exception of maybe the special needs routes might be a little bit more full than the normal routes, but yeah. On the average, probably about 6 to 8 students per bus.
Jenny, if we made the decision kind of to combine and we filled slots, we reached some sort of threshold number, what's the last date that we could undo and change our minds? And just say, you know what, we're
To go
past-
back?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I typically look at, I guess I would probably also go with, we have like 16 in a section, and that's pretty healthy section for half-day kindergarten. So if you wanted, if you wanted to split it up, it's just again with staffing, so I would have to undo that piece of it. So let's just say tonight you combine them, I would notify the teachers, they already know this is going on. Here's where you're going to be. If you decided to go back, I would have to go back to them and say, okay, now this is reopened. Do you want to do this? Ideally, like by June, I guess. It's not ideal, but definitely before, July,
Okay.
that time. Knowing this, I don't want to share too much about the situation, but knowing the situation that I do, I don't think it would be too much trouble. The issue would be if the one teacher takes a full-time spot and then decides to go back to the half-day, then we got to fill that full-time spot. And so then we lose out on better candidates, that's all.
So I'm comfortable. I think, when we made the decision last time, it was because of timing. It was because of not being able to communicate it well. And it felt like my memory is, it felt like we're pulling the rug out, right? But we're now a year forward. We've had the conversation. I don't see how we don't approach it with the mindset of the numbers to some degree are going to dictate our decisions. If they don't justify themselves, I think our path forward should be to combine them. And then if the numbers show up, well, we have to deal with that issue all the time with all different grades. We're always, as the year gets closer to taking off, we're always looking at, hey, we have that challenging situation of, we leave things alone, but now we have a classroom of 33 or what have you, and we always have that challenge. I kind of look at it as this is going to be a similar challenge, but you can't take it back, right? So I think we should, and I would be supportive of communicating that, this is the best use of resources, balancing all of the issues, and then we'll let the numbers dictate. You know, we're not going to be so draconian that we are going to combine them no matter what. If the numbers show up, then we split, and I don't want to be cavalier, but Jenny's really good at maintaining the staff and getting the best teachers we can. And, you know, if we have a lot of kids show up, May or June, she will work her magic and we will make it work. But as far as a direction, I'm comfortable that if the numbers don't support it, we should combine this year.
I agree. I mean, in a perfect world, we would know by April 1st what our kindergarten class is going to be, but it's not a perfect world, so, and knowing that Jenny can work her magic.
No
and
pressure.
knowing that
Pressure.
we can undo. I don't want to see a classroom of 30 half-day
Right, yeah.
kindergartners, but I think it's, I agree. It's
And we
prudent
also
that
don't want to see a classroom of 6.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
I agree with both of you as well. I would even go further and say, why don't we systematize this and create some sort of policy so we don't have to revisit this every spring? And so that you guys have the guidance and the confidence you need to go ahead and make decisions based on, you know, auto-collapsing and combining or splitting things out or however that's going to work. So then we have some rigor and say that this was our logic, these were our thoughts. It's foundational now. We're just going to kind of move forward with that.
Right. Because the more and more popular the full day gets, this is
Yeah.
going to be an every year
Right.
issue.
I will suggest it's not lost on me that these conversations change if we have a new configuration of elementary schools.
Touche.
Yes, it does.
And I will share with Eric, I mean, we don't have to discuss the ends, you know, if it's, those all are always easy questions, right? It's when you're on the dividing line and you're like, oh gosh, you know, we have a -1. How do you have a -1 student? But it's like, you know, what do we do with 21? So I think those are the ones that always bubble forward, is the ones that we have to deal with. They're the ones where there's no easy answer, because the easy answers, they would have already made the decisions.
Michelle, Megan, are you
I
okay?
think Eric's idea is interesting to
Okay.
consider for the future.
Well, I appreciate that. What we will do, based on the board consensus, is we will do two things. We will start communicating with the Whitney families so that they're aware of what we talked about. Here's the plan for next year. Should things change, we'll keep you posted. And then we will put something together as kind of a procedural system that we could follow, that we all agree to, and that way we could just follow that system moving forward. All right, thank you for that discussion. With that, we're going to turn over to another discussion. So I'm going to have Steve and Monica come up to follow up on, I think, a similar timeframe discussion in the summertime about GPS systems and tablets. So I'll turn it over to Steve and Monica.
So last year, we talked a lot about adding tablets onto the buses as the next step in progression of putting technology on the buses. You know, in my tenure in this job, we've added cameras, we've added GPSs, and the next step we had discussed was adding tablets. Before I get into the numbers, though, I did want to have Monica come in and talk to you about the piloting program that we did, the pros and the cons that she is seeing, and then I'll be happy to circle back and we can talk about the numbers and all of that. So, all right.
I want to thank you for the opportunity to share about the CalAmp navigation program. Ohio law prohibits bus drivers from having cell phones, even using them as navigation. So it has been identified for a safer navigation solution, and we explored the tablet-based technology. And so CalAmp is Strongsville's transportation GPS-based navigation system. It's also the system that houses Here Comes the Bus. So we are tying all that together with TransFinder, our routing software. The routes are automatically uploaded into the tablet, and that gives the driver up-to-date information most of our sub-drivers drive like this. So that will eliminate totally the piece of paper, and that way they will have the information that they need. The navigation system is a turn-by-turn navigation, so it improves our route consistency and reduces missed stops or even getting off, deviating from the route, which is helpful for our sub-drivers or even, the drivers that have to cover the routes because we have right now high absences. The platform is in real time, so it helps our drivers to also GPS field trips. So that'll be a plus for that. In addition, it will be a step in the direction of technology to enhance safety and efficiency. A couple of the things that we discovered when we launched the pilot is one, the routes that were uploaded, we have to make sure that they're spot on. So correcting those routes and making sure that, the stop is being dropped off to the right and then turning right or whatever the directions are mimicked from the system to where the driver is actually turning. So that was one of the issues that we had to solve. The other issue was the drivers, the intimidation of having something like that on the bus. Am I going to be able to navigate this? Am I going to be able to use it? We put them on 5 buses. They're still currently there, and they're usable. So those drivers had an opportunity to play around with it. They saw that it was relatively easy to use, and then they had a 1.5-hour training to get to know the program a little bit better. They did express concerns about, where we have time in between routes to, to skip a stop or whatever it is that they needed to do if a student wasn't there, or they needed to navigate through construction or something like that. So I think the more that they would use them, the easier it would be for them. The other obstacle that we are still working on solving is, and that comes with the program, is being able to scan the student onto the bus, and then it would allow the parents to receive an email or notification that their student has been checked in on the bus. That process is a little bit slower, well, for many reasons. One, if the student forgets their little tag to scan in, then the driver has to go and find them on the navigation system. If you don't know where to look, you're like fumbling. So I think in time, they will get used to using them, but I see them as a great asset, and it would definitely be efficient and improve the safety of our students.
Do you have any questions for Monica?
How long was the trial?
It was a good 2 months
2 months?
between snow days and Christmas and all of that.
Yeah.
So
Are we still using them? You said we have them. Are we still
have them
use
on
them?
5 of the buses, and I use it all the time when I hop on one of the buses. The ability to, it automatically pulls up your route for that bus, but you can always pull up other routes. So if I know that I'm going to do a route that's not that bus, I will take that bus and then pull up another route, and follow that route. So that I like to ensure that the route is running the way it should be running.
Did you survey the 5 drivers at all, or was it just kind of in conversation, getting their feedback?
We did some surveying. We also had them meet. I did have one driver that was a little resistant to use it. One driver that just went all in, and she was always giving me information. I also had a sub-driver that just comes in whenever we need him, and he used it and said that he liked it, other than sometimes the GPS would try to take him a different direction, but that's the route. It's not his fault or the tablet. It was we had to make the correction on the route. The other thing I wanted to say was, with the route, if we find that it's not going in the right direction, I can actually make the change in the office, and if they sync the GPS or sync the device, then it will correct itself right then and there. So,
Any other questions?
Has anyone said, I need it, I want it, don't take it away?
not really, but they've also, I haven't had a whole lot of drivers that have said, this is an absolute, waste. Most of them don't even know the whole picture of it, only the 5 drivers that had it on their bus. So, I think it would be one of those things where, if they were on all of the buses, most of them would use it. Most of the drivers know their route, so they wouldn't even need it on a daily basis. It would just be when their bus is subbed out, or if they have to go, and cover a route of a driver that's just not there today.
So usage of the technology would be optional based on the driver?
The technology would be available, let's put it that way. It would be available for them to use. Some of them have subbed for the route so many times, they've already got them memorized. So,
But also, to piggyback off of that, we do have changes to these routes often especially at the beginning of the year, as students are added or taken away. So where we would have to have someone either keep updating, which is a challenge, the piece of paper, because inevitably what happens is the driver gets comfortable with the route, they do not put the change of directions on the paper, and then they get sick, and the next day, the sub is driving, and it says turn right. Well, the driver that's not here today knows to turn left. Now that can all be updated in real time, so there's not that confusion any longer. And like I said, with the ever-changing routes that happen, time being added, time being taken away, this would eliminate a lot of the printing paper, correcting the paper, reprinting the paper, and then sometimes whenever a split does happen or a changes happen during the day, those drivers have to come back to pick up a piece of paper, or somebody has to drive out to give them a piece of paper. So again, they're getting this information in real time.
Do you feel that this technology makes Strongsville more attractive for bus drivers? Does it give us an edge, or are we just moving into normative what other people have?
I think if they've gone to other, I'll say it this way, if they've gone into other school districts that are forward-thinking, it'll be the norm. But coming from some of the districts that don't have this technology available, it's going to be like a whole new world to them. So I'm going to take the political route and say yes to both of your questions.
Okay.
and I will
But
say,
yeah,
if you don't mind me
Good.
interrupting, I will also say the sub-driver who gave me the feedback came from a district that did have them, and he had positive things to say about us using them here.
And to piggyback off of one of Eric's questions about being optional, so the options would be, it's either your route is in your mind, or you're using the tablet, but we would stop with the printed pieces of paper. Is that a good assumption?
correct.
Okay.
I mean, when we say optional, I mean, it's always going to be there, right? Because it's hardwired into the bus. But if, it's still going to talk to the driver, it's still going to be on. It's just whether they're paying attention to it as diligently as if it was the first time driving that route is the difference. But again, if they're doing anything different during the day, taking a field trip, doing anything like that, again, elimination of all the paper, it's right there for them to upload in real time. So it has that ability. Any other questions for Monica before I start going into the?
I had a curious question. Do we know what law prevents the bus drivers from using a cell phone?
I can look it up, but it's a Ohio Revised Code. It's one of those,
Yeah,
what's the word I'm looking for? It's a.
If you could just provide it to us, I don't need it right now. What I was thinking about is, on the face of it, the law seems to make sense, but I'm wondering how old the law is, because I'm not aware of an Uber driver or a Lyft driver that's not allowed to use a cell phone for what seems to be this purpose. So I'm just curious about it and want to kind of drill down on it.
It's more of I think it's more of a recommendation in Ohio Revised Code as far as that they shouldn't be using any kind of.
I mean,
cellular
again,
device.
hands-free, you know, the idea of, I can imagine that law being when, you know, I don't want a bus driver on the phone either,
Well, and-
right?
And thinking of it this way too, is you're driving precious cargo behind you, all of a sudden you see a text from, you know, so-and-so, that so-and-so, like grandma passed away or whatever. You know, now your focus is not on the kids, not on the road, but what's going on your phone, because it comes up in a banner. Whereas with the navigation system, you don't have any other distractions. That's it, you know, and I know the department transportation department at ODU is really pushing hard for bus drivers to not even, like, they encourage you to put it in your pocket in case you have an emergency, but that's where it stays. You know, you shouldn't have it in the window, you shouldn't have it mounted. It goes in your pocket, and that's the only place it should be.
I don't want to call out Councilman Carbone, but Councilman Carbone, is it true that our service department uses these in their vehicles in the city?
Yes, they were introduced several years ago for efficiencies, plowing the streets and just the day-to-day duties, being able to connect to the tablet. And there's no doubt there's been efficiencies with that.
Interesting.
I have it up here. The Ohio Revised Code. The Ohio Revised Code for that is 3301-83-20. It prohibits school bus drivers from using cell phones or any portable communication device, including hands-free or wireless, while the bus is in motion and students are on board.
Thank you.
All right, so the next question, of course, is, so what is the investment? We've been able to work with CalAmp, and last year, I went through 3 different providers and their provider model, and CalAmp came out with the best investment for the district, and I can reshare that presentation if you like. The cost of this for the year is $46,050.81, and it's a 60-month commitment, so 5 years, which would be a total commitment of $230,254.50 for all 5 years. However, I know that's a large number, but keep in mind that this is both housing our GPS and the tablets. The GPS itself last year was $30,500 for the year. So for about $15,500 and some change, we're adding the tablets in. I have not worked the deal for the new GPS only because I was focusing on this. And we're getting a discount of $25 per tablet, per bus for the year. So I don't know how long, or how well I'm confident in my bargaining ability, but how long the deal would be there is questionable. Also, we're getting 72 tablets for the price of 65. The reason for that is I suggested, well, we have spare buses that we don't use. So let's put the hardware in and then unplug the tablet, plug it in on the bus whenever a spare is used, and we'll move on. And my salesman said, well, the tech team thinks there may be some issues with that, so we'll just give you the additional tablets. We're also getting the scanners and holders for the scanners included in this at no additional charge. I didn't want to pay for something that we're not going to use out of the box, but their products, and they said, well, it's not really doing any use for us on our shelves either, so we're going to go ahead and put them on our shelves until we feel confident enough with technology to roll out the barcode scanner. I just have some questions on how that would work. And in full transparency, the board knows, I was not here for the majority of the piloting program, so I wasn't able to ask some of the questions about the scanners. Having them is beneficial. I just need to work out some kinks before we would implement them. But I don't foresee that being a large amount of time. They wouldn't sit there for that long. I also know that you are dealing, and I'll try and be as politically correct as possible here, you're dealing with a group that technology is not as second nature as some other groups. So we are going to have to spend some time doing this and training this. Change is sometimes hard for some people, but I think that this kind of change, this kind of technology would be very beneficial for the district. And like I said, it's not the full $46,000. It's a fraction of that, because while we can discuss tablets all day, I know for a fact that our GPSs have been used and been very beneficial in a whole host of applications. And I would, if we were to decide not to do the tablets, I would still push forward and say we need those GPSs. And just for your reference, that's not just GPS on the bus, it's also GPS on our maintenance vehicles. And where that's come in beneficial is one year we had a maintenance vehicle stolen. It was one of the older ones. We were hoping maybe it would go into Lake Erie. We found it by Lake Erie. But, we were able to recover that immediately, and some of the equipment that was in it. Also, we had some issues with different issues with employees that the GPS was very beneficial in helping us to resolve some of those issues on location, so.
Steve, do you have a way to quantify, or are we chasing pennies to quantify the expense that we'll avoid with paper and printing and all of that work?
I mean, everything's quantifiable, right? I just need to look at how much the paper costs are. I can go into the individual machines. Unless I get the hard data to say this many pieces of paper, I can do a percentage to say how much of that would be cut back. And then I can present that of what an estimated, I can't give you a hard and fast number, but what the estimated paper costs to the district would be, and what we would save by moving to this
Do you have an
direction.
instinct on whether it be substantial or not?
Man, we were just talking about copies today. Substantial enough that I think it's worth this consideration. In my opinion, of seeing how much paper is used, how much paper is thrown away because one little change, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way, it's just one change means a new piece of paper. And there could be multiple changes the first 2 weeks of school. And I've seen reams of us go through reams of paper, and just to have them thrown away to go through another one, so.
Again,
In
if
my
you think it's
opinion, yeah.
substantial, because that would resonate with me, if we're adding an expense, but we're reducing other expenses, and not just paper, but labor and things like that.
I would
What you've
also say
what
we're-
you've enunciated so far, to me, has been accuracy and convenience, and that those two things are important, especially when you're the student that's waiting on the bus for a half an hour, especially when you're the parent that's concerned about where the student is for a half an hour. But those are not the same kind of hard costs as far as the labor and the management, et cetera.
If I could add one thing to what I think I heard too, is there's a safety factor here. And that, for me, is where the money, the how much we're gonna save becomes a little bit less of my concern. Because I've seen the drivers having to do this. I've driven by them while they're trying to do this, and so I know it's happening. And so for me, that's the number one concern.
And to
I
add
would
on to that,
oh,
it's just
go
being able to attract more drivers, like Eric said.
I would add that there's also an operational cost of it. Having a driver have to drive back to pick up a piece of paper, while maybe in by itself, it's not a substantial cost, it still is an operating cost, still putting miles on that bus that we would not have to.
Well,
So-
those to me are things that we can quantify.
Yeah. I think when you look at them all, the aggregate of all of those cost savings and then add in the safety factor, you know, I wouldn't come to you if I didn't think it was something that is very much worth your consideration. And operationally, I think it would make us a stronger district.
And as with everything else, if we sit on it and wait, the costs are just going to rise. This would lock us in for 5 years.
It's like a 25% increase.
Yeah.
But when I hear Steve talk about it, it sounds like more than 25% worth of value. You're getting a screen, you're getting this navigation, we get this check-in system if someday we decide that that's something that we want to take advantage of and use. And that cost seems pretty justified to me.
So I will just share my thought process. I will challenge you, Steve. From my perspective, all of this is reasonable, but I'm also looking at deficit spending. I'm also looking at dealing with a renewal levy for operating expense and how we're going to shape all of that together. So for me to support this right now, this minute, I will challenge you to come back to say, how is this going to more pay for itself? Because at the end of the day, it's an increase. So my consideration or my barometer is not if, but when.
Okay.
And for the when to be sooner, the dollar amounts need to be more dramatic. What I don't want to do is approve a 5-year, $230,000 contract, which is 5 years, and now I'm looking at bodies in 2 years, and that's my concern.
When is the drop dead date that you need to know by? When is our trial up?
I'm confident I can get you the information by the regular meeting this month.
Okay.
And then I'll have it on for consideration for us to purchase. I don't have a drop dead date because I can keep, I have a pretty good relationship with the salesperson. I just know they've been holding this price for us
Right.
for a while. At some point, they're just going to say, we can't keep holding this price. Now, I know just from us having conversations in the past, if they really want our business, they'll hold the price for as long as necessary. But at some point, it's just one of those, we need to decide if we're moving forward with that, because then I also have to pivot, if we're not going to do the tablets, go back out and start getting quotes for the GPS system by itself. Because there may be, I haven't looked at just GPS systems by themselves since we originally purchased. So there may be some other players in the GPS only game that may give us a better deal. This is just the only player that I know of that's giving us the best price with the GPS combined with the tablets.
So with that being said, the idea would be, what we wanted to do tonight is obviously have Monica, who's living this every day, and Steve, who's overseeing it, share with you some of the insights. If we came to this meeting and everybody said, yeah, we understand, but now's not the right time, then we would pause. But it seems like there's enough interest that we would bring it back to the regular meeting. Steve would get the information that's been requested, and then the board could vote on it at that time, and vote on it, table it, decide where we go, if that's acceptable. Okay.
I also add, for a point of clarity, the plan was to use the PI funds for this.
Correct.
And not the general funds. So it would come out of the Fund 3 capital improvement funds, which the GPS was currently being paid out of as well.
Okay.
Thank-
All right.
Right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Steve.
Steve. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
Under curriculum, this is a first for us. We're approving a Polaris trip, but it's something that, because of the affiliation and it's a satellite program with us, we thought it would be good to put it on the agenda for consideration like we do other trips. So what we've got is the Strongsville Health Occupational Students of America. They've been having a great season, so they're traveling to Toledo to participate in the 2026 Ohio HOSA State Leadership Conference, April 15th to 17th. And transportation will be via chartered bus paid by Polaris Career Center. And then we'll have kids that qualify for the state conference, or students who qualify at the state conference will be eligible for the national conference in Indianapolis, Indiana, June 15th through 20th. And transportation will be via commercial airlines, again paid by Polaris Career Center. expenses associated with both trips, including lodging and meals, will be paid by Polaris Career Center. So this is a part of our engineering pathway, and it's been a great, what's that? I'm sorry, Biomed, thank you. Thank you, Biomed. Biomed program, and it's been a great addition. And so obviously, being the fact that it's a satellite program that's at our district, we thought it was important for transparency to share where our kids are going. And Ms. Bissell, I know you've got a student that participates. You want to share a little bit about the program?
I guess. I do know it's the first time that, that Polaris has participated in
Yeah.
this, and likewise Strongsville. We had a lot of success. I think all of our teams are competing at the state level. I really don't know what to expect in terms of whether the national I know with like, DECA, we often qualify. I have no idea what to expect with this. But I still think, going to states as a first-year program
Yeah.
is fantastic, and the kids are doing like after-school prep, lunchtime prep, like they're getting themselves ready to be the best they can be for the competition. And I do know it's closed doors, so it's not something you can go and watch. So we'll just wait and see,
Yeah.
hear how they do.
It's exciting.
Yep.
And then under Human Resources, we do have one retirement for your consideration. We're doing it at this meeting because this allows us to post and get interviewing, because finding a French teacher is not the easiest thing to do. So, and with that, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda, the adoption of the consent calendar. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of consent calendar at this point of the agenda means that all items appearing in this agenda denoted as type action consent are adopted by one single motion unless a member of the board or the superintendent requests that such items be removed from the consent calendar and voted upon separately. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Do we have anything that needs to be removed? Hearing none, George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, next we have Board of Education Other. Do we have any others? Who wants to be the first one to talk about last night? Go ahead, Rich, you go first.
Well, I just wanted to say I had a tremendous time at the Mixed Martial Arts event. No, the MME event, the Model Mustang Experience. I'm sure everybody has wonderful things to say. I just want to share my thanks to all of the staff, all of the students, all of the parents who participated and made it a really outstanding event. It just makes me happy to spend time with our students and to see them so excited about the things that they're doing. There were middle schoolers that were doing art, and they showed me about making dragons. No, I think those were actually elementary. There were middle schoolers that were talking about the makerspace, and I loved makerspace so much I took the class 2 times, which is just wonderful. The 6th grade
Pink Pixies?
the 6th grade Pink Pixies, which is about being kind and brave and strong and surprising people with just positive things. Molly and Paige were just wonderful. They were so good I remembered their names, which is really odd for me. And I asked if they had ever considered like having, if somebody wasn't in the 6th grade and a girl, but they were supportive of the mission of the Pink Pixies, if they could be an honorary member. And I was able to write my name on it, and I have my patch. So I'm not sure what it says, just that I'm proud that I'm a Pink Pixie, but that was exciting. And then there were some preschoolers. And all of you were very kind to me earlier before the meeting started, and we watched the Artemis II rocket launch, and it was outstanding, and it was wonderful. And it made me think about the preschool, and there were astronauts, and they were all excited about it. And there was one young lady who was she was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old, and she was just incredible, and she made you just so happy to talk to her. So I could go on for hours, but it was an outstanding event, and Can't wait to see what next year brings.
Yeah, just to echo what Rich said, thank you, Jenny and Cameron and all the staff for your hard work. It was a great experience last night. It was my first model Mustang experience that I went to. You know, for me, this is going to sound a little strange probably, but it was actually nice to see some of my former high school teachers there and be able to stop and reconnect with them and talk to them and, you know, just see how they're doing and see, you know, 10 plus years later that they're still there and educating and, you know, doing everything they can to make such a great experience for the students like they did for me. I did find out that I am not smarter than a second grader when it comes to insects and the Civil War. Little Levi, who is in second grade, smoked me on both questions, even tried to give me a couple of pity seconds, and I still could not come up with the correct answers. And Rich, you know, you brought up Artemis 2 today. There were a group of third grade girls who actually stopped me, and we were talking about constellations, and they had some pretty thought-provoking questions, but they actually went through and they were explaining the Big Dipper and some of the different constellations, and those girls were so passionate about it, and to see that at such a young age, that there was something that you could see that their teacher, you know, tapped in and found something that they enjoyed and was able to put it not just in, like, say, in astronomy space, but also English and science, and be able to combine all of those subjects together into something that they were passionate about. And also was it kindergarten or first grade who was doing literacy on the lawn?
From
The-
Sarar, yes.
Those kids were the absolute cutest. And the books that they said were their favorites, the book with no pictures, absolutely loved that when I was a kid. So they were by far some of my favorites of the night, but it was a great time being able to talk with the Derby. They got enough of my money yesterday. They will probably get more in the future, but just an absolute great event, and I can't wait to go back to more in the future. So thank you.
It's fun to hear how we all have, like, I'm sure you guys will have a different experience than me, like, and I, you know, I saw the little ones too, but then talking to our older students, I had a senior try to teach me how to play the electric bass. I think I'm almost ready to go on the road with the, if they'll take me. And then a student who was in AP research, and to hear her experience with a whole year-long research project that she's still not, it's not done yet, but, and it had to be a subject that had never been researched before. So it was just so interesting. I love seeing our little kids. I also got beat at Are You Smarter Than a Second Grader? So I'm gonna focus on our older kids. But no, it's what a great experience. You know, 2 hours, it just flew like that. So thank you to everybody who was involved.
I'll share a quick story that I thought really highlighted one of the board's priorities, which has been the CKLA program. And I stopped by the kindergarten table where I had a chance to talk to the students and the teacher, and I thought it was really interesting to hear them in parallel. The teacher expressed that she was nervous, I think, as a lot of them were going into this year, and just gushing. She was gushing about the program. She was showing me the books, look at what they can do, how much progress. She said it's almost across the board. They're not seeing kids that falling behind the way maybe they would otherwise. I mean, she just could not say enough things about how thrilled she is with the new program. And then the kids just shared her joy. The one little girl was super nervous to do her little presentation for me. They were giving the weather report, which required reading the months and the numbers, and she, once she did, then I couldn't leave. Then she got the book and she wanted to read the whole book. Just so much joy that they could do it, and so early. It was just, I got goosebumps talking about it, because this is what Aaron told us was going to happen, and we're seeing it. It is so exciting.
All the students were great. I skipped that, Are You Smarter Than a Second Grader? I was warned, and wisely so, I feel like. I'll try to pick something new to talk about. A lot of the teachers were super excited, and engaging with teachers that I didn't know, and got to know them a little bit. And some of the things that I thought were really innovative were all of these crossover experiences. I met teachers who were reading books, so it's anchored in English and reading, right? But then would do art projects based on those, and then music projects too. And so these students are getting this kind of holistic view of the same content from different angles, and how meaningful that was. I also saw sixth graders developing students and eighth graders who are helping them like edit them. And they were putting them into books and then using generative technology to make images that go along with these books. So it's all this like cross-pollination of like learning from different angles that I thought was really cool. Last session you had shared us a crossover event with Brunswick,
Yeah.
which felt similar, right? I'm like, oh, it's like a CSI crossover here, you know, dating myself. But it is sort of exciting, and I do feel like it changes things up quite a bit for the students. And it's neat to make linkages across classrooms, which is like merging of the streams kind of thing, and you can see how some of the learning kind of comes together. Another shout out would be I think it was called financial literacy. I talked with a couple seniors. Amazing program, amazing teacher, and bringing the immediacy of what you're doing into the class, from the classroom, back into their real lives, computing how much apartments cost, how much a car I can afford, just practical applications of math. And these kids were like ridiculously passionate about it, was awesome. Like I was joking, like this class should be mandatory. Everyone should be taking this. You talk about really setting someone up, setting our young people up to be independent and demystify some of those things that adulting, I'll just use that phrase. This class seems to do it, and it was really cool. So thank you for sharing that.
You know, one of the things that's, I mean, as everybody said, it's an awesome event, and I shared with some people I was talking to the other day that it's just, for me as superintendent, it's such an authentic way to engage with the kids and the teachers that you miss. I missed when I was a teacher, when I was a principal, right? And so I don't think I did the State of the Schools my first year. I don't know if I did or not, but at least this is like,
Time ago.
this is like number 10. So, you know, being here for that long, I think one of this may sound a little odd, but the greatest thing for me, like in these last couple of years and last night specifically, is 7 years where I planned the whole thing. And then there was a year where Dan and I kind of partnered and planned like the first iteration of, hey, we're gonna have 10 tables out there and do kind of half and half. And then last year it became a lot of Dan and Jenny and a little bit of me and some of our DLT, our district learning team members. Now I would say it's a lot of our district learning team members, some of Jenny, a little more of Dan, and I just get told to show up and speak for 15 minutes and don't go over time. You know, and so to me, that's awesome. That's awesome when you have something that now has a life of its own, that's not dependent on any one person to bring to life or keep to life. Because what did the one, you were in one of the buildings today and said, you know, it was so fun. No, it was super fun. No, it was, what was the?
Yeah, he was there last night, and he said, it was really, I said, did you have a good time last night? And he said, I had a lot of fun. No, it was really fun. No, wait, it was hyper fun.
Yeah.
So, very cute.
And like you said, just to be able to see, I mean, that's what you want for every child here, right? Is to see that passion, that excitement, that they don't want you to go because they've got so much more information to share with you. So it's, as everybody said, it's just an awesome night. So, and we appreciate everybody. It's been a busy month, so another night away from family and is difficult, but we appreciate you being there.
And I just want to thank you too for being there. It means a lot that you're there, and I know our staff appreciates seeing you. I do want to say that it's quite an undertaking of an event to plan, but it's so worth it. And I just want to, with the weather and the teachers bringing in all of their stuff and being soaked, and you know the amount of stuff that they carry in to make sure that they have is just tremendous and appreciated. And I also would say that, yes, Dan and I worked together. He did a tremendous amount of work for this. And what was nice is we had a committee that kind of helped, you know, orchestrate it. We had all the people attending, but we had a strong committee that it was just so nice. Every time we met every couple weeks as it got closer. And I didn't have to say, like, well, where are we with this? It was them reporting, I got this done, and I got this done, and I got this done. So it was a small but mighty committee, and my appreciation for them is just extraordinary. They did a phenomenal job pulling it all together. And even last night, where can I help? What can I do? How can I, make this work? And everybody stepped up. So I just want to say thank you to everybody.
Executive session to
Consider the employment and compensation of a public employee, and to consider matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or regulations or state statutes.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Motion by Ms. Hefner, second by Mr. Miko. George, will take the vote.
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Motion passes.
We will enter into executive session at approximately